be talking with my father, Jack Fleming, who worked at KMEN in the mid-60s when Jimmy Webb wrote Up, Up, and Away.
How you doing, kid?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Not too bad for an old dude.
I had a thought.
I'm sure it'll dive loneliness.
See, I set 'em up and you knock 'em down. What I wanted to ask you about was the KMEN balloon launch, January of 1967.
That would be just about right.
Looks like vertical stripes.
Oh, yeah, it was green and white because it was owned by the Coal Green Broadcasting Company.
Okay, and it was the Coal Green Broadcasting Company that bought the original station and turned it into KMEN.
Right, the old station being KITO.
They bought that and renamed it KMEN and made it the
Right.
800-pound gorilla of rock and roll radio in San Bernardino.
Oh, did they ever? I was at KFXM at the time, and they just kicked our ass.
You spent a couple of years at KMEN, didn't you?
Yeah, a couple of years.
So they're going to launch a balloon. I wonder how that came about.
Well, they figured it would be a good publicity stunt, a hot air balloon, not normally seen over San Bernardino.
And it looks like it's in a big cow pasture next to the transmitter.
Yeah, well, as a matter of fact, in San Bernardino, most radio stations were in a cow pasture. I know KFXM was in the middle of a wild burro refuge.
My Uncle Paul, your brother Paul, went to school with Jim Webb.
He did. They were in a music class, San Bernardino Valley College, and that's how they met.
I wonder how old Jim Webb was at the time.
Somewhere around 20.
Most people know him as Jimmy Webb. Jim Webb and Uncle Paul became good friends. And how did this come about? Did Uncle Paul invite Jimmy out to the balloon launch?
Well, I think Jim Webb was a KMEN fan at that time. We talked about it on the air, so he made it his business to be there on that day.
He was unknown at the time, right?
Yeah, for the most part. He wrote a song. It was a Christmas song, and it was recorded by a little group called Otto's Organization. He said to my brother, I'd sure like to get this played on KMEN. So my brother Paul brought him out to the station. Jim Webb said to me at that time, Mr. Fleming, I said, just call me Jack. If you can get this played on KMEN, I'll give you 10% of all my future earnings.
Oh, my.
And I said, that won't be necessary. You know who did get the 10%?
Who got it?
Johnny Rivers.
Oh, yes. Okay, now Johnny Rivers is listed as one of the producers of Up, Up, and Away.
It all fits into place, doesn't it?
Yeah, and this all happened pretty quick because this
Yeah.
balloon launch was in January, and the recording date is only about 30 days later that Fifth Dimension was recording this song.
Right. As a matter of fact, Up, Up, and Away was the very first song played when I saw KPNW on the air.
Ah, yes. Now, was that choice on purpose?
Uncle Roy picked that out.
Uncle Roy being Roy Cordell,
Yes.
your program director at the time?
I worked with Roy at KFXM and KPNW.
Oh, okay. So you'd worked together at KFXM. You went over to KMEN, and he went up to Eugene and started KPNW and then pulled you up there.
Right.
Gotcha. It's January of 1967. KMEN is launching this balloon in a cow pasture next to the transmitter.
Paul and I were there together. Jim Webb was down more toward the transmitter building, and he was leaning against a fence post, and he was writing the words to Up, 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 and Away. Talk about inspiration.
Was he writing it on a paper bag or a notebook? Do you remember?
Well, he had a 3-ring binder, loose leaf binder.
Yeah, okay. And he's writing these lyrics.
Yeah.
Inspiration.
Well, if you read The Wrecking Crew, he actually got a ride in the balloon.
Up, Up, and Away was written by Jimmy Webb, recorded by the Fifth Dimension.
Right.
The instrumental backing was performed by members of the Wrecking Crew, including guitarist Al Casey, bass player Joe Osborne, and drummer Hal Blaine.
Right.
This record cleaned up at the Grammys in 1968. Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best Pop Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocals, Best Performance by a Vocal Group, Best Performance by a Chorus, and Best Contemporary Song.
I think he picked up a few awards on that.
Yeah, 6 Grammys. Now, that one for Best Performance by a Chorus, all the others were the Fifth Dimension, but the Johnny Man Singers had a version of that song out the same year, and they picked up a Grammy for that. I gave that a listen, and the drummer, I am 95% sure the drummer is Hal Blaine on both recordings.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hey, you got to go where the money is, Mike.
And he had a boatload of it for a while.
Yes, he did.
You know, I almost ran over the Fifth Dimension.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. They had come to Eugene and performed at the Holt Center. They stayed at the Eugene Hilton, where I was working at the time.
Okay.
I drove the airport shuttle. So I'm out at the airport. As I approach the crosswalk, these people come running across the crosswalk, and I had to brake kind of suddenly. And I recognized them. It was the Fifth Dimension. I only narrowly missed 2 of the guys. Can you imagine running over the Fifth Dimension?
They could have been the third dimension.
They're less dimensional. I told you not to mention it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oops.
Back to the Up and Away. On Friday that weekend, they had the balloon launching in the cow pasture surrounding the radio station.
Right.
But that later, passenger flights were downtown San Bernardino, Harry's roller rink across the street from the Swing Auditorium at the National Orange Show, where you emceed concerts.
I emceed quite a few concerts at Swing Auditorium, which held 10,000 people. Yeah, I emceed country singer Ray Price, and boy, the place was packed. My mom and dad were at that concert. Ray Price was a great guy to work with.
How so?
Well, he was just so very cooperative.
Ah,
As a matter of fact, he did a concert here in Emerald Valley Golf Course. You know where Emerald Valley is?
down by Cresswell.
Yeah, down by Cresswell. I walked up to Ray and I said, Ray, I'm Jack Fleming. I don't know if you remember this, but I emceed your concert, San Bernardino. He said, I do remember that.
Do you remember who else at the Swing Auditorium you might have emceed for?
The Swing Auditorium put on a show by KFXM for the March of Dimes, and Roy Cordell, being the promoter he was, got all this talent from L.A., all these recording people to come out and perform for free. Marty Robbins was there, Annette Funicello, Jan and Dean. As a matter of fact, Jan and Dean, whoever was managing the curtain and the lights and all that, thought they were a couple of kids that tried to sneak into the concert, and he tried to throw them out a couple of times.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And they said, no, we're here to perform. I'll tell you a funny story.
All right.
I ran into one of the guys that I used to work with at KMEN when I was in L.A. one day. His name was William F. Williams, and he was a jock at KMEN, and we were pretty good friends. So he was rooming with Jim Webb up in Laurel Canyon.
Okay.
He said he's going to stay in town for the night, and I said, yeah, I'll grab a motel room somewhere. And he said, well, why don't you come up to the house and save that money? I followed him up to the house, and I walked in. The only thing in the living room was the grand piano.
What more do you need?
Anyway, there was no other furniture in the house. And Williams was sleeping in one of the bedrooms on an air mattress. I slept under Jim Webb's piano on some pillows that I put together.
Was Jim Webb there?
No, he wasn't.
But you slept under his piano.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you so much.
Indeed. My pleasure, Mike. Love you, Mike.
I love you too, Dad.
Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.